Hello everybody, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over how to factor quadratic trinomials. This is going to be part 2. Please make sure that you watched my first video on factoring quadratic trinomials. Today we're going to be going over the problems where c is negative. So just as a reminder, this is what a quadratic trinomial looks like. You have x squared plus bx plus c, where b and c are coefficients and x is a variable. And for the ones for today, remember that c is going to be negative. So the steps for graphing quadratic trinomials are listed right here. We went over these in the last video. And so I'm going to leave those steps right here on the left-hand side as we do some examples. So let's begin with this example. Factor the trinomial. So you got x squared minus 2x minus 24. The first step is to list out the factor pairs of c. Now notice that here in this case, c is negative 24. But for now, let's just list the positive factors of 24. Let's just pretend it's positive for now, and we'll deal with that negative a little bit later. So the first factor pair of 24 is, of course, 1 and 24. 1 goes into every single number. And then the next number would be 2. You got 2 and 12. And then you have 3 and 8 go into 24. 4 also goes into 24. 4 times 6. 5 does not go into 24, so we leave it like that. Those are the factor pairs of positive 24. Then what we're going to do is determine which factor pair adds up to b, okay? Now, at this point, let's go ahead and make that 24 negative because that's what it should be. And remember, we have to see which number adds up to negative 2, okay? Which number adds up to b. So because b is negative, because these two numbers have to add up to a negative number, that means that the larger number needs to be negative. So let's make all these larger number negatives on the factor pairs right here. And we basically have to determine which pair here adds up to negative 2. Okay, so the one that adds up to negative 2 is going to be 4 and negative 6, because 4 minus 6 gives you negative 2. Then what we're going to do is use those numbers to write the trinomial as two binomials. So the two numbers would be 4 and positive 4 and negative 6. So we're going to rewrite this as x plus 4 times x minus 6. Then the last step here is to multiply out the binomials to verify your answer. So here I'm going to distribute the x in red here to these two terms. So you have x times x is x squared, x times negative 6 is negative 6x. We are going to distribute the 4 here, the positive 4 in green. So 4 times x is positive 4x, and 4 times negative 6 is negative 24, okay? So then what we have to do is basically combine the like terms to verify that we get the original trinomial. So that's basically just adding these two. Negative 6x plus 4x would be negative 2x. So we have our original trinomial, okay? So that works out. So the solution would be x plus 4 times x minus 6. Remember, these two lines right here are just checking the solution, but the answer is these two binomials, okay? So this trinomial factors into these two binomials, okay? All right, guys, let's go over one more example to make sure you guys got it. We're going to factor x squared plus 5x minus 50. So let's go over the steps for that. So steps 1 would be to list out the factor pairs of c. Now remember, c is negative 50, but let's just leave it as positive for now. The factors of positive 50 would be, of course, we got 1 and 50. 2 also goes into 50, 2 and 25. 3 does not, 4 does not. But 5 goes into 50, 5 and 10. 6 does not, 7 does not, 8 does not, 9 does not, and we're back to 10. So now we're going to determine which factor pair adds up to b. This is the point right here where we make c negative, because that's what it is, negative 50 right here, it should be negative. So that means that one of these numbers in each pair has to be negative, because a negative times a positive is a negative. So the question is which one? Well, it has to add up to positive 5. So because the pairs need to add up to a positive number, that means the smaller number needs to be negative. These numbers right here, negative 1, negative 2, and negative 5. So now the question is which one adds up to b? Which factor pair adds up to positive 5? That's going to be this one. You have negative 5 and positive 10. Those factor pairs adds up to positive 5 right there, okay? So then once we have those numbers, what we're going to do is use those numbers to write the trinomial as two binomials. So the two numbers were negative 5 and 10, so the binomial would be x minus 5 times x plus 10. Lastly, we're going to multiply out the binomials to verify your answer. So I'm going to distribute this x to these two terms right here. So x times x is x squared, x times 10 is 10x. Then we're going to distribute the negative 5 to these two terms. So negative 5 times x is negative 5x, and negative 5 times 10 is negative 50. Okay? Then once we have that, what we're going to do is combine like terms to verify that we get the original trinomial. So those two like terms would be 10x and negative 5x. We subtract 10x minus 5x to get 5x, and that is the original trinomial. Okay, so we verified the solution, so the answer would be x minus 5 times x plus 10. So that's how to factor trinomials when the value of c, the constant, is negative.